reason I make videos like this is kind of a spur of the moment video, and it's probably not going to be too interesting to most people. But my family, this is family history. This is direct family history from our family. And as the years go by, more and more of us who remember this place and remember, oh, look at that. There's an old mason jar lid, probably Grandma's. Still has the porcelain or the glass inside. But it's being forgotten about what happened here, and who was here, and what the history was of this place. So let's go on now, and I'll show you a little more. This is the only supermarket in College City. And back in the day, when my grandparents lived here, Grandma used to give us kids $1.50 or some amount of money, can't remember how much, and send us down here to this store. This was back in the early 1950s, I think. And we come to this store right here and go in and get 5 or 6 slices of bologna. They cut it up then in those days. They didn't have it packaged like it is today. They would cut it up on a big tube and wrap it in white paper and tape it, and we'd get 5 or 6 slices. And then we would walk back down this street to where they lived, way down there. And we would each have a bologna sandwich for lunch. And that was our routine. This is the street that we used to walk back in the early 1950s to go to the store. And the homestead, the place where my Grandma Rua and Grandpa Boone Gash lived, was right here, right in that group of trees. And I can't even get in there now, which is a shame, because I wanted to show you a few things. I'm going to park and see if I can walk around a little bit.
This is the only known photograph of the house as it appeared when my grandparents lived there in the late 1940s, early 1950s. Big old orange tree out front there made the best oranges. We used to just love climbing up in that tree and grabbing oranges and eating them while we were still sitting in the tree. The house was built sometime at the turn of the last century, 1898, 99, somewhere in that time frame. Did not have electricity when it was built. It was added later, and it did not have indoor plumbing. Had an outhouse out back, a 2-holer that you had to use. This is a plot map that my Uncle Fred drew of the property from his memory. You notice he had kind of a sense of humor. You'll notice in the kitchen area where it shows the stove, the kitchen stove, he shows a pot of beans on the stove. And in the bedroom, on the lower right corner, that was my Grandma and Grandpa's bedroom. And up in the corner of that bedroom is Uncle Fred's bed, and that's where I slept. I slept with him while I was visiting. This is a picture of Boone and Rua Gash, my grandparents who lived here. They loved one another, well, most of the time. This picture was taken in about 1951. It shows my sister on the left, Peggy, my little sister Gail in the middle, and me on the right. And Peggy and I don't look real happy because we think that Gail just filled her diaper.
This is the back of the property. I can't believe how overgrown it is. But the history is my Grandma and Grandpa moved in here in the late 1940s. And back over here was the old outhouse. They had an outhouse, and that indentation in the ground right there could very well be what's left of the hole. I wish I could get in here because you can't really see this, but you see that top of that tree right there? That's a different tree than what's in here. And it's a pine tree or something. And the story goes that in July 1955, my grandpa came out from the house, which sat over here in this area, went out to the outhouse back over here, and had a stroke. And he stumbled and staggered back in, and he leaned up against that tree, that big tree, which again, you cannot see the bottom of it, barely see the trunk through there. He leaned up against that tree and called for help. And he went in the house, and his daughter, my Aunt Mary, ended up taking him to the hospital, and he had a severe stroke, and he died 2 days later. And that was in July of 1955. I've spent many a weekend here with my grandparents. Absolutely loved this time. And right here, in this area right here, used to be a chicken house. There was a chicken house. My Aunt Bonnie and her husband and family used to live in this. They called it a chicken house. I don't know what it was, but there was a little house right in here. And I'm not sure you can see it, but over in that area is some old farm equipment out over there. That stuff has been there forever. We used to play on it as kids. When I was 5, 6, 7 years old, we used to play on that. That was our spaceship or our bomber or our hideout. My Uncle Fred, who was 7 years older than I am, or was, he's gone now, fell off that harvester back in the early 1950s and broke his leg. And then right over here, Uncle Fred and I built along this fence line, we built a little brick clubhouse. Stuffed the bricks with paper, and my grandma and my Aunt Bonnie came out and set fire to the paper, scared the hell out of us. They had a bucket of water standing by, though, just in case. But let's go around to the front side now, and I'll try to show you a little more. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see it. I wish I could get in here. But right past all this lumber wood right here, there's a hole in the ground, a big hole in the ground right over there. That was a hiding place that was under the house. That was a cellar that went under the house. And us kids used to get down in there in the summer and play because it was cool down in there. And we're talking a long time ago. And there used to be an old rose bush along here that my grandpa built or brought in, found it, got it somewhere, and planted it in here. And for years it was growing in here. There's probably still remnants of it around. I don't see it now, though. But I got pictures of us sitting on the front porch right in that area. Oh, look, and there's the water tank back there from where the well is. If you can see it back in there, and you can see part of that tree. That's the tree there that Grandpa fell against. And when he had his stroke, the water tank is there. And there's a little concrete sidewalk in there. Well, I could not get in there now. Even if it was open, I couldn't get in there. There is so much foliage. And there's a couple interesting things over here, too, that I can tell you about. Right? Oh, here's another lid, but I don't want that. Right in here, right in this area here along the fence line. The fence line is here. There was a garage right here. And we used to play in that, had stuff in there. You know what kids can play in all kinds of places and have all kinds of fun. And right next to it here was a travel trailer or a single wide mobile home, a small one, very, very small one that was right in here. Belonged to a guy who was extremely overweight. I don't remember his name. But one day he died, and he was in there, and no one knew it for a long time. And by the time they figured out that he was deceased in there, they had to cut the trailer apart, cut the back of it off to get him out of there. And it was not a pleasant experience to do. And that was during the early 1950s. That was right here. There was a trailer there. Uncle Fred and I used to have a little hideout right up and over in that area there too. Uncle Fred and I were very, very close. I was the first grandchild born in the Gash family. Get out of here. And Uncle Fred was born in 38, I think it was, 1938, and he had polio, so he couldn't do a whole lot. So he and I became quite close. We always were quite close. And I'll show you this building here, if I can get this thing to turn around. That building right over there used to be the school, the grammar school. And Uncle Fred and I burglarized that one time when I was 6 years old. He got a key somehow, and we got in there on a weekend because the teacher took something from him, a pocket knife or something from him, and he went in and we got his pocket knife back. And then there's another story about this road. Now the property is here. And there's another big shot of that tree right there. That's a historic tree in our family because, like I said, Grandpa fell up against that tree when he was dying from a stroke. But I had an uncle named Glenn Gash. Uncle Decky, we called him, and he was a pilot. He was a World War II veteran, served on the USS San Francisco, and he became a pilot after the war. And he flew up here one day in an air coupe, and he landed in a field that's down at the far end, way down there. He landed in that field, which was growing alfalfa. When it came time to leave, he couldn't get the plane off the ground. He couldn't get enough speed up to get the plane off the ground. And so they took the fence down, and they towed, my grandpa and my dad towed that plane back up here, towed it clear up here, and then turned it around. Of course, these trees and those poles and things weren't there at the time. Oh, look at this. I just noticed this. Oh, this is nice. You'll like this. Look at this. I'll finish my story in a minute, but looky what we have here. Looky what we have here. Hello, big boy. Are you a big boy? Yeah, no one's gonna hurt you. No, it's a gopher snake. He's not poisonous. He's just chilling. All right, go on about your business, and I'll finish my story. If I touch him on the tail, he'll bolt. He'll bolt into the... Yeah, he'll bolt. There he goes. All right, I'll finish my story now. All right, so they towed the airplane right down to here, turned it around, and he took off and went that way. And he didn't have quite enough runway to get up enough speed. There's railroad tracks way down there. And he bounced, literally bounced off the main gear up and over the railroad tracks, and then there were some low power lines down there, telephone line, little ones like these. And he bounced over that and remained flying. Lucky he didn't crash and kill himself. But he remained flying, he remained airworthy, and then the air coupe had a canopy, a bubble canopy over it, and he forgot to close the canopy, and he also, more importantly, forgot to fasten his seatbelt. So when he hit the railroad tracks and bounced over, he damn near flew out of the airplane, bounced up and out of the airplane. And in doing so, he lost his hat. He had a hat, and he lost it. And so he flew, made a big turn after he regained his composure, and he came right back down this street at very low altitude. He cut the engine, cut the throttle, and hollered down to my grandpa, who was out here, or my dad, I don't know which one, and said, "Get my hat, get my hat." So So they got his hat, and then he went over. The airplane was just covered in green from the alfalfa that thing tried to get off on. But that was the story here. Then there's another little story that happened right here on this corner. And again, here's the property here. And right here on this corner, of course, there was nothing out in here at the time. But right here, somehow somebody gave my Uncle Fred a wire-controlled airplane, that has a little engine on it and it goes around in circles. So they were trying to figure out who was going to fly that thing. Of course, Uncle Fred couldn't because he couldn't walk. He had to sit all the time, so he couldn't keep up with it going around. So they decided my dad was going to be the pilot to fly this thing. And it was a little plastic thing, had a little tiny two-cycle engine. You spin the prop and it starts. And then you're supposed to take off and you control it like this. Well, they got the engine started all right. My dad was standing right here, and it went from there, around, up, down, came back and plowed right back into the street over there. And it was done. Broke the wing off, bent the engine. They got 1/2 turn out of that remote line controlled airplane. So anyway, I'm quite surprised that this place looks like this. It's just awful. I always wanted to go back in here with a metal detector and hunt around a little bit, see what I can find from Grandma and Grandpa. Here's a data plate. I wonder what that is. This is interesting. No, it's upside down. I can't read what it is, but I'll find out when I get home. Get it cleaned up. But I've always also wanted to go back in there and excavate the old outhouse. A lot of times you find a lot of valuable, interesting old things in old outhouses. There was an orange tree right here somewhere. I think it's gone now because I can't see any remnants of it through these trees. Made really good oranges. We loved them oranges. We used to eat those oranges. And there's a story of the old outhouse. There was some kind of bush around here that you didn't want to get in your eyes because it irritated your eyes. And I can remember one time going out to the old outhouse myself and finishing my business, and I rubbed my eyes, and then I couldn't see. My eyes were watery and hurting, and I was crying. I was only 7 years old. And I had to call Grandma, and Grandma brought a wash rag out. And I had to wash my eyes. I wouldn't let her come in because I didn't want her to see me. Oh, look here, you can see part of the sidewalk right over there. That was the back porch. Grandpa used to make olives over there. God, I wish I could get in here now. Oh man, this is overgrown. But anyway, this is in College City. It was a college town, religious college town. There was a seminary or something here. I don't remember the name of the religion, but there was a big church. There was a college, literally a college, and of course it's all gone now. Church is gone. Everything's gone. And again, how many times that we walk down this street down to the little grocery store that's way down there on the end for 5 or 6 slices of bologna. Just looking at this place now just sends chills down my spine to think of how much time has passed since we used to come here on weekends to spend it with Grandma and Grandpa. My grandpa died in 1955 from that stroke. And then after that, my grandma moved into a house that my mom and dad built in Grimes. And Grimes is to the east of us here about 15 miles. And Grandma moved into that. and no one that I know of lived here since. And then sometime along in there, I guess they tore the house down. I don't think it burned down because there's no remnants. I have been in there before they put this fence up. I have been in there. But you surely cannot get in there now. Not only because of the fence, but because there is so much foliage. Look at this. Look at this. Right over, straight ahead is the cellar where we used to go down in and get cool in the hot summer days. Unbelievable what's around here now. If I don't have to fall and hurt myself. So that's the family history on the Gash side of the family from the 1940s, 1950s. Boy, that was a long time ago. Coming back around to the back side here now. There was actually, when they lived here, there was actually 2 outhouses. One along that far fence over there. When it fills up, when one outhouse fills up, one hole fills up, you dig a new hole and you move it. And they moved it right over to here, was the last place that I knew. So I know right where it's an old outhouse, right over in there. I've been in it. I have left deposits in it. But that was a long time ago. So this is probably the last time I'll be coming here, just because you can't get in, you can't see anything. Used to be a horse apple, they called it a horse apple tree right in here someplace. That might be remnants of it over there. And of course this old pomegranate tree. Granny used to make pomegranate jelly or something out of the pomegranates. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Grandpa's tree. Yep. This was all so long ago. So long ago. Nobody knows. And like I said, the older, as time goes on, more and more of the family members who know of this place are no longer with us. And I think there's probably only first cousins, and not all of them were born at the time. Kitty, Susie, Peggy, me, Peggy's my sister, Kitty, Susie's 2 cousins, first cousins, Mike Barker and Debbie Barker, I think at the time were the only ones that were ever here and spent time. Mike and his family, Aunt Bonnie, lived here with Granny for a while. I think my Aunt Mary did too. But we're the only ones that know about this. Nobody else in the family even knows about this place. They might have heard rumors somewhere down the road, you know, sometime as time went on. They might have heard rumors of the College City House, but I doubt that any of them have any interest in coming and seeing it. But that's the old Gash homestead. And like I said, there's a lot of history here, a lot of history. But that's the road right down there where Uncle Dickie took off in the airplane, the air coupe. Right down that road. Damn near killed himself. All right, until next time, later. And so ends the tour of the little town of College City, California. I'll have to, when I make these videos, sometimes they're a spur of the moment, so I haven't had a chance to really do research. And I'm quite a ways in Northern California. I won't be back home. I live probably 400 miles to the south of here, so I don't have any way of looking up information right now, but I'll see what I can come up with some still shots and some, oh, here's another snake. Oh no, that's a stick. Anyway, forgot what I was saying. Oh, I remember. I was trying to come up with some ideas of when this town was founded and when the college was here and things like that. And I'll see if I can't come up with that.